Hey. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to our second day in the fall extravaganza. We are having so much fun. I was blown away by yesterday's two sessions that were taught by Austin and Shelley McLeod, and then by Renee. There's just so much wisdom and heart and golden nuggets. And so I'm capturing some of their quotes and I'm dropping them in the chat. So when you guys watch the replay, they'll be there in the chat and Facebook group. I'm also creating graphics with some of their favorite quotes so that you guys can share it on social media. There's just so much wisdom here. So I'm just so grateful you're here, Laura, Sam, Becca, in Zoom, everyone in the Facebook group, and to those watching on the replay, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Carlene is a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. Hi, Carlene Berg. I see you. Carlene, Ulacia, and I go way back to when we had our first babies together and kind of grew up with our babies and walked through all of life's challenges. And when I think of Carlene, I think of a woman who has defied the odds, a woman who has overcome obstacles no woman should have to face, and has somehow managed to come on the other side so gracious, so loving, so beautiful, so kind, such a good mama, like just loving essence from her. And I'm so excited for her to share part of her story with you guys today and for the wisdom that she has to offer just by being who she is. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Carlene Ulacia. And Carlene, thank you so much for being here.
Aw, you're gonna make me cry. We haven't even started the session yet.
Well, girl, your story and you are very powerful. And I'm really grateful you're here and you're willing to share part of your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you. And hi, everyone. I see some familiar faces. I see my cousin, hi, Kyla, on here as well. And and to new faces. I'm so grateful and honored that you chose to spend some time with us today in this container. So yes, as Nicole mentioned, I have a story to tell. Don't need to go all into details because you know what? We all have a story to tell. And I hope by sharing a bit about my story that it just makes normal to talk about the stories that we have to share because we all have things that I kind of think of human beings as rocks in a river, right? That river, that ongoing flow of water is always causing that rock to change until eventually it is the water runs over it so strongly and so far, so much that that rock is smoothed out. Now, did that rock think that it was going to turn into this gorgeous pebble as the water was kicking its butt? Probably not. But it turned out to be this pebble. And someone might even go further, you know, that if it went deep underground, it would turn into a diamond. I'm not a geologist, so I can't quite go there, but I do feel like I am shining bright like a diamond these days. Am I the diamond yet? Matter of opinion, but I'm feeling kind of sparkly these days. So one of the things I want to do is one of my love languages is information and opportunity. So I'm going to put a big old long thing. I hope the links will transfer into the chat. I just put a thing in a comment in the chat with, yes, it looks like the links came through too. So these are things, yes, sparkly these days. That's right, right? And what determines when I feel sparkly and how do I feel sparkly? Do I feel sparkly all the time? But I'm feeling kind of sparkly right now. And I'm learning to be okay with not always feeling sparkly. It's okay to not always feel sparkly. And that gives me license to appreciate, to enjoy, to more fully feel the sparkly when I am feeling it. So all this stuff that I just downloaded into or copied into the Facebook chat, when you have a chance, do please take a look at some of those. Hopefully some will speak to you and some may not speak to you, but hopefully it will. And lately, I Rise has been coming to me in various ways. For some of you, if we're already friends on Facebook, you might have noticed I posted a story. I love how Google Photos comes up with these memories and these themed memories. And it came up with a themed memory group of me. And as I saw all these pictures of myself through the years, and I'm smiling through some of these pictures during some of the hardest, most horrible, nightmarish days that any mom could ever go through. And I'm still smiling, even in that photo. And that's when Andrea Day's I Rise came to me. And I just started crying like a baby when I watched her video. I never watched the video. If you have not watched her video, get your Kleenex ready. But it's super inspirational. And how just through it all, we rise. And then Maya Angelou's Still I Rise, her poem, came to me. And so I shared that in the chat as well. And I tried to get the last nonprofit I worked for to adopt Alicia Keys' Underdog as their mantra, but they didn't go for it. So if you haven't checked out Underdog, that is our song. That is everybody in this group's song, everybody on this planet's song, because for whatever reason in life, you may be the underdog, but there's power in underdogging together. So when I met Nicole, her first baby and my only baby that I birthed, I have lots of babies, but I've only birthed one, were 6 months old. And we were in Mommy and Me class. And I was living just a happy life. I owned my own home. I worked for an amazing nonprofit in Minneapolis. And I, met this guy, and we had a baby together. And then about a year later, we got married and we moved to Tampa, Florida. And I was living the dream life. But then I found out some things were happening there was just some abuse that was happening that caused me to have to instantly end the marriage, end the relationship. And all of a sudden I found myself just with my own income as a single mom. I didn't think I was signing up to be a single mom, and starting over again. And while it was devastating, and I never thought I would experience anything like that in my life ever, I got through it. How many of you have gone through something really horrible in your life that you never thought you were signing up for, never thought you could do it? How do you get through that? You don't plan that. You just get through it. And there were 3 things that came to me in that thing that kind of came up. And that was, first, when I felt like I didn't know if I could depend on myself, I reached out to community. And I actually have a little bracelet. I don't know if you could see it. Actually, someone gifted this to me. It's the Hansa hand. And there are these onyx beads and I think amber beads on it. And there's just something really grounding and healing to it. And it is a bracelet of protection. And I believe somehow that we would be protected and that we would make it through this. And community is how protection was reached out to me. We were involved in the church at that time, and the men in that church, they just rose up and protected us and loved up on us and showed my son what men look like who take care of their families. And so you never know what a small gesture does. This woman, she had a couple of these on, and she just said, I felt like I needed to give you this. And just something about it is just so healing. And so I wear it as much as I can. It's kind of heavy, so I don't always wear it, but I just love it, and I just wear it. And it reminds me that I have community. It reminds me that I can trust my mind. And when I can trust my mind, I can connect to my body better. So that is not the first time I've experienced trauma, although it is the worst trauma I thought I would ever experience in my life. But the first trauma that I experienced in my life was at the age of 5, when I lost my mother. And therefore, I lost my mother's family. So I grew up not knowing really a whole half of me. And guess what? I kind of look like my mom. I sound like my mom. I don't really sound like my dad's side of the family as much. So there was like this missing hole. But I had people who loved up on me anyway. I had my dad's whole side of the family. They loved up on me. I had my Aunt Teresa, who did the best that she could, being the narcissist that she is. She loved up on us because guess what? She was there, right? So I survived that. I would cry at night and just make bargains with God. God, please send her back. Please send her back. I'll be okay. I'll do the right things. I'll be a good girl. Just please send her back. Because at 5 years old, you're still very much in the ego phase of life. You think everything you do is everything that happens is because of something you do or something you are. So kids are amazing at making shifts through change. So what happened to me as a 5-year-old and the trauma that my son and I experienced when he was about 5 years old kind of was an interesting correlation. And I think the trauma that I experienced at such a young age helped with our own transition when he was such a young age. And so then when my mom disappeared, I didn't know if she was alive or dead. And when I would ask my father would just say she's dead. Can you imagine what that does to a young child? To all of a sudden you just are told somebody who was your whole world is dead. And you knew that that meant that you no longer had license to ask about it. It was soul crushing. So fast forward, my father met a wonderful woman and remarried, and she took care of us 4 kids. There were 4 of us. I was the oldest, my brother and twin baby sisters. Took care of us as much as any mother could love on any kids. And we would have day trips to the beach, and we'd have, back in the day, it was white bread and cheese sliced sandwiches or hot dogs on the beach, and we would just have these wonderful times. She was active in the PTA, and then at 9 years old, she dies. What does that say to a little girl when she loses 2 mothers? What could her value be? That she does not deserve a mother. But I rise because I had my teachers at school who loved up on me. And I don't even know why I'm all emotional about this now, because I'm usually not that emotional about it. I've cried through so many tears and I've healed so much. And I'll remember Miss Slattery at Hookway Elementary School, Miss Hamilton at Hookway Elementary School, my teachers at Calumet High School, who saw in me what I couldn't see in myself. And they always had their nails done and their hair done such a way, and they just had this beauty about them. And they taught me how to be a woman. And thanks to those librarians and them telling me I could, when others were telling me, who are you? You can't do that. But I chose to listen to them. They told me what I could do. I got a scholarship to the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. And the number 3, they were at that time the number 3 engineering school in the country. And I went there, and it was just a whole new world. And I was surrounded by people who told me, yes, you can. And not only that, I was one of the first in my family to go to, in my generation, to go to university and to graduate a 4-year university. And then I went to study abroad when my friends were pledging sororities and fraternities and doing this and that. And I knew that I was on the thin line, right? Financially, there was just, I couldn't afford to take a chance and get caught up in social drama and lose my ability to continue college. So I didn't do those things, but I would always go to my advisor's office and ask, well, such and such is going to the study abroad program. I sure would like to do that. And I kept being told, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And at the same time, I'm working at craft food company driving fork trucks and walking around with my wrist in a splint because back in those days, the fork trucks were manual drive. They didn't have sort of automated semi-auto transmission. And if you went over a wood chip, it would cause the steering wheel to spin. And guess whose hand was kind of laid in the steering wheel like that? Yeah. So I'm walking around like this to my academic advisor's office saying, well, what can I do? And finally, after probably like the fourth or fifth conversation, she finally said, well, there is the work exchange program. Yet you could have told me that 4 conversations ago, right? But had I not persevered, had I not learned early in my life about persevering, and had I not learned to look to those who saw the light in me and who saw value in me, I would not have kept asking about that. Fast forward, I graduated from the University of Illinois. I went and worked in London, England in the International Work Exchange Program, had my first position in affordable housing back then. And then I subsequently, part of my career has been a long stint in affordable housing, helping to build affordable housing. And it was a life-opening experience. I mean, I went to Bath, I went to Italy, I went to all these different places in Great Britain and in Europe, and it was just wonderful. And I came back even more somebody than I thought I was. And even today, when I'm in the room with folks where, where it's normal that they've studied abroad or, done all these different things, I've done that too. But had it not been for perseverance and looking to community, I wouldn't have gotten there. And some say, well, yeah, you just did that. I didn't do it alone. And if you look, and I even tell my son, even the King of England, I have to say the King of England now, the President of the United States does nothing completely alone. Everybody needs help. Because so often when we come from a place of lack or a place of loss, we think we have to ball up our fingers and do it ourselves. Roll up our sleeves, pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. Well, nobody pulls themselves up completely by their bootstraps. We all do it in community and with help. So that's kind of what I have to say about persevering. We continue to persevere. One thing that now that I've gotten a few years under my belt, what the blessing has been in that time is that change is the only constant. And if things are in a yucky place and you don't like it, that's okay. This too, as the Bible says, this too shall pass. If things are in a great place, that's okay too, but ride that out and enjoy the hell out of it because it's not going to be forever. Don't assume things are going to be good always forever. And don't assume that things are going to be shitty forever either. So that is kind of what my journey has been. And I continue to pursue forward. And it's an exciting ride. And I always say, the day I stop learning is the day it's time to get off this blue marble.
You are always learning and you're always humorous through it. Like your wit, you constantly crack me up. And like, this is something I admire about you, Carlene. Like, this is just what you've shared even today is just a drop in the bucket, right? Of your story. There's so much you could share. And so just knowing even more of your story, the fact that you're still humorous and you're still soft and you're so loving, like this is what I admire about you so much, because I think it's very easy to live what you've lived through and become very, very, very hardened and to shut yourself off emotionally from life, from others, from your own child. Like this is what people do to survive. And the fact that you continue to choose to keep your heart open and to keep loving and to keep living and to keep learning is a testament to the kind of person you are. So I would love for you to share, like, if someone's gone through really, really hard times and they can feel themselves contracting, they can feel themselves shutting down, they can feel themselves like wanting to push everyone out, what would you say to someone who's there right now?
And so many of us are there right now, and my heart just breaks for you. I say, first of all, honor that for a time. Rage is real. We need to feel rage. We need to go when we need to. But just don't stay there. Don't get stuck. And again, if I sound like a broken record, because that record is not broken, it's worth playing over and over, then get help. You don't have to white knuckle this at all. And actually, one of my more recent lessons is when you hold on to something like this, because it's the only thing in the world and you just cannot, then where are your hands? What can you be open up to? Because notice this mug is not all that comfortable. It doesn't fit me all that well, but I'm just holding on to it. Well, what if my hands like this? Now I can be open to what does fit me. So in the resources I shared, there's a couple things. If you are in crisis, and I was in crisis for a while. I was alone with my baby. I didn't know who to turn to here in the town where we don't have any blood family. So I called the crisis center, 211, first call for help. And they connected me with the domestic abuse center, who provided all kinds of supports, including an alarm system for where I currently live, as well as help with rent assistance. And not the least of which is the first and foremost thing that they helped was help me with triage, with crisis. Because I have never cried so hard, so deep in my life, not even when I was 5 years old, that I think I was capable of crying the pain that I cried just 8 years ago. And it's a 24-hour line, just dial wherever you're at. Not every zip code, but most zip codes across the country have a line where you just dial 211 on your phone, the number 211, and you can get access to a crisis center counselor. Unfortunately, in our society, we have this negativity toward mental health counseling. And you will see I listed in my resources, my therapy. Mental health therapy is so important. So, and I also harp on that because I am not only the oldest child of 4 children, but I am also the adult child of an alcoholic addict. I've seen addiction. I've seen people I came to learn, I didn't know this as a child, but I've come to learn that a big way that we shut ourselves out and we distance ourselves and we protect ourselves is with alcohol, with drugs, with eating, with sex, with gambling, with multiple binge watching series. I mean, there's so many different ways, and some are legal, that we can numb ourselves from the pain. But I've come to learn that only keeps you stuck in the pain, and it's not living. So I would encourage you to feel the feelings. Try not to get stuck there. As soon as you can find a window to get unstuck there, reach out for help. If you've got health insurance and you have access to a call line to have a mental health counseling through your insurance, great. But so often in this country, we associate healthcare with insurance. Well, really, from a human rights perspective, they have not one damn thing to do with each other. And I am a licensed life and health insurance agent. So I'm going to get on my pulpit just for a quick second. And that is, there are many community resources around to help you get access to mental health, physical health. That's why we have a Medicaid system. But even before you can qualify for Medicaid or get qualified for Medicaid, local community health centers, 211 first call for health. And there are many local mental health centers that do have either sliding scale or some type of benefit program. But luckily, 211 first call for help has really kind of streamlined that and made it easier, because when you're in crisis, you don't have the energy to be reaching out to 20 different places to get help. You just need a lifeline. And so often that is either the National Crisis Hotline, and I'm sorry, I'll add the link for that later. National Crisis Hotline, the Domestic Abuse Hotline, and or 211 first call for help. And know that I love you, and you are not alone. You are not alone.
Wow. I'm so emotional. Like that. Yes, Sam, this is such a powerful share. And I think you are such a messenger from the divine, because these numbers, like you said, there's a lot of stigma around getting help. And like, I think people don't even know where to even begin because we don't even talk about it. And so the fact that you're A, talking about it, and B, that you already dropped the links, like the second this session was going, you're like, babies, here are the links. Get yourself some support, get yourself some help, get yourself into community. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for leading the way in this way. It is so needed and it is so powerful. And I know you're guiding people home as a result. So now I have a different question for you.
Okay.
So you gave this brilliant wisdom and practical steps for someone who is shutting down. Now I want you to, I want to know what you'd say to someone who's on the other side. They shut down, which I loved when you said, honor that season. Rage is real. Like you have to feel it. Like you cannot skip that step. You have to feel it. So they've done all that. They've hunkered down. They felt the rage. They've done a lot of grieving and a lot of processing, a lot of healing. They've reached a point in their life where they're finally feeling that nudge to open back up to life again, to open up to the possibility of love, loving themselves, loving life, loving other people, like just like there's something there, but they're scared because of what they've gone through. Like there's still part of them that wants to pull back, but their heart is saying, open up. What would you say to that person?
Nicole, your genius is showing through. You just know how to ask just the right questions. I would say, okay, all y'all, let me know when you figure that out. Seriously. It's a process. Well, it's various levels of opening up, right? I mean, to open up to my baby and to other kids who are these beautiful, bright, innocent lights, it's a different level of opening up than opening up in work relationships and being open to opportunity. That's a different level of opening up than to open up in romantic situations. I ain't there yet, y'all. Because that's another level of trust. I'm close. I feel like I'm close, but I want to say that that is a perfect time. And this is where I'm at. I'm in multiple containers right now to be in places where we're talking about um, your pleasure portal. That thing is fire. That container is fire, Nicole, because we're not only talking about, we're talking about multiple ways of multiple multiple areas of pleasure, whether it be picking up, okay, I picked on my mug before, but I like my mug because it's got my decaf coffee with my coconut milk and maple syrup in it, and it's warm. And it reminds me of my Aunt Sharon, who would drink diluted coffee all day and all night. God bless her, rest her soul. God rest her soul. And so that's one level of pleasure, just to take a moment to stop and appreciate it, right? Rather than just guzzling it down because absentmindedly I'm trying to get some pleasure from that. And this is where I encourage setting the conscious intention of opening up. When and how you feel safe. And who tells you when and how is the time for that? You. It's nobody else's business. Anybody else want to chime in on that? It's none yet, because this is me, myself, and I. And so really mindfulness, meditation, prayer, however you get in touch with your inside, your spirit inside, your higher self inside, with God. We all have different vernacular, different wordings for really what that feeling is, that still quiet voice inside us, the knowing that always knows. I call it my gut dar. Anytime I go contrary to my gut dar, I'm in trouble, because my gut dar always knows. So I feel like I'm getting close to being willing and ready and open to romance, but my gut dar still isn't quite 100% saying yet. But I'm open to love. I'm open to relationships and family and, sort of on the non-romantic side. And I'll get to the other when I'm ready. So I say, continue to set the intentions, be in touch with yourself. Don't numb out scrolling. set some being in contact with myself time, so that we're not, because it's so easy to numb out scrolling or video gaming or smoking or drinking or having, 4 pieces of cake. I've been there, done that. I haven't done the drinking and smoking, but 4 pieces of cake, that's me all over there in the past, I'm grateful to say. And spend time with self. First of all, being open starts with being open to oneself. I'm about to go Buddha on y'all right now. I don't know if it's Buddha who says it, but I'm about to get my Buddha on. And that is love yourself first. Like the Miley Cyrus song, I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, because I can love me better than you can. I can love me better. I love that song. That's become like I would put that in the share. That's like my little mini anthem, because it's like, that's right. I just tossed out some flowers I bought myself, right? You know that, Nicole, you buy yourself flowers. And just loving myself. And then as the more I love myself and forgive myself, like the whole Ho'oponopono prayer, that's a Hawaiian prayer that says, I thank you, I love you, I forgive you, and along those lines. I'll share that later too. That was really a helpful one for me, because sometimes I need to forgive others because I get mad at others and this is not going right. But sometimes it's me forgiving myself. And why am I talking about all these internal things when we're talking about being open? Because we are all these these planes of energy. And when our head, our heart, our spirit, our higher consciousness is not in line, then we can't be open to the opportunity that's available to us. So that's what I would say about that.
I mean, so much gold in there, Carlene. And I really, really liked when you said something along the lines of the only person who knows when you're ready is you. Like that is like giving your power back. Because lots of people will have lots of opinions of like, haven't you grieved that thing long enough? Still haven't let that go. Like there's so much pressure to live according to some arbitrary, random, made up timeline. When every person is so unique and different, you have to honor your own timeline. So I love that you gave people permission to like, you are the only one who knows when it's time to move on or try this or open up or release that. Like you're the only one who knows. So really like owning your power there, even when people have very different opinions. So thank you for that gift of permission to everyone.
And I appreciate you saying that. It's really me trying to remind myself and reminding you all that you don't need permission from me. You're your own. You give yourself your own. You have your own autonomy. You have your own power. And the only way that we don't have power and dominion into our own life is when we give it to others. I can share an example, a recent example of that, if we've got time.
Yeah, we've got time. We've got 20 minutes.
Okay, wonderful. So um the loves and your in Nicole's monthly membership, you know about this, because actually it was really helpful being able to vent and talk about this as I was going through it. And one of the beauties is, as you get more in line with your power, even when you forget you have that power, step away from it temporarily, you can snap back to it and get into your place of power more quickly than when you're operating out of your power more often than not. So I accepted, so I left a salary position about 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. And I wasn't quite sure that I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. And there were opportunities for me to do some consulting. So I started a consulting firm, Why You Prosper Consulting. Yep.
I love it.
And Why You Prosper. Yep. And there was an opportunity to provide to do some contract work for a small company, a media company that was poised and is trying to be poised to blow up, to expand greatly. And they brought me on to do some largely business. Yep. Why You Prosper. It's the letter Y. It's the letter U, prosper. Yep. And my son's initials, by the way. And there was tremendous opportunity there, and I was so excited. But what I came to see is what it was just for 2 weeks before I ended this contract role. And every time the owner would say, Carlene, okay, this is something you're taking, let's go, let me know how it goes. He would take it back, and he would keep wanting to do everything himself, everything himself. And during that time, I attended a Connect event at the University of South Florida, one of the premier universities in the Tampa Bay area, USF. It was called USF Connect. And they had this panelist of venture capitalists and other thought leaders around entrepreneurship. And the venture capitalist said the top 2 reasons that businesses fail would surprise you. The first one, maybe not, and that is they don't have the right product, or the right product identified the right audience for that product. The second, equally as vital, is that leadership or ownership is not coachable. When I heard that, and in talking it through, and nobody gives advice in our membership, it's really just kind of conversations and me having a chance to vent and maybe hear a little bit of reflection. And what I realized is I could work till I'm blue in the face. I could create till I'm blue in the face, but this man is not coachable. And I don't have a ton of money. I'm sort of the typical single mom living, check to check. Just like Alicia Keys' song Underdog, where she's single mothers waiting on the check to come. That kind of thing is a line from her song. But I knew that in order to let go of what didn't fit, I needed to do this. And because of that, so what happened was I had let my power go to him, and he was running rapid with it. And the minute I stepped back into my own personal power, we leveled the playing field, and it was owner to owner again. And it actually changed our working relationship. And I did choose to end the contract, but we left it where I would still earn a commission, a quite hefty double-digit commission for any business that I bought into the firm. And had I not been in a place of power, that would have dragged on and on. It would have completely sabotaged my own energy, my own mental health. Sometimes yes, it's good to have a good mental health practitioner. And so often you work through with that practitioner around healthy relationships. Because you can have therapy all day and night, but if somebody's beating you down in between going to that therapist's office, it's really gonna sabotage it. And by stepping away from that, it has opened up all these new opportunities, where now not only 1, but 2 insurance agencies are asking me to take leadership roles. So that is a kind of a lengthy example of power to power. And even if you lose your power, or you lose it meaning you forgot where you misplaced it, you can go back and find that power. You don't have to go back and backtrack it. You just have to say, power, come on over here to me. And the power says, present and accounting for. Yes, sir. Power here. And then you go on and kick ass from there.
Woo! I love you so much. Oh my God, Carlene, you're the best. I love that. I love, okay, you dropped so much wisdom. And the last thing you said really landed, where you said, in my own words, it's not just about therapy, it's about having healthy relationships. Because like you said, you can be in therapy learning all the tips, the tools, the practices, the insight. But until you choose to stay in your power and choose to have relationships where people respect you in your power, you're just going to keep putting yourself in situations that keep draining you, and you keep going back to therapy to kind of get filled back up again. And what I loved about that story you just shared, and it was such an honor to support you through that in our membership, is watching you become aware of where you let your power go, and you snatched it right back. It was instant. And once you realize that, it was oh, Carlene is back and no one is messing with her again. It was so
I didn't even realize, right? I was like, what just happened here?
Mm-hmm. And speaking of your very first point in the beginning, which you said, the power of community. This is the power of community, where Carlene was sharing this frustrating situation with us inside the membership. And we lovingly pointed out, you have power here. And it was the light bulb went off, and she took charge of that situation literally that night and completely changed the results the next day. And again, the power of bearing witness to one another, the power of being known and seen, the power of being reminded of your greatness, which is why we're even hosting this extravaganza. It's to remind you of your power. It's to remind you of your greatness. It's to remind you of your potential, so you don't get lulled into living disempowered. So you don't get lulled into playing small and being afraid, when you're meant to go big and be a match for love of every kind, love of friendship, love with your children, love with colleagues, like romantic love. Like, you deserve it all. And I think Carlene's story is so powerful and kind of like waking you up to that and saying, hey, you still have power. You still have options. There are lots of resources. So this brings me to my next thing about you, Carlene, because as you can hopefully pick up on so far from Carlene, she's very well connected. She knows organizations, she knows resources, she knows people, she has ideas, she has experience, and she's so passionate about making sure you get the right resource. So, and because of her lived experience, she's like an expert in so many ways. So from what you've just heard today about Carlene, if you are someone who's going through a really hard time in life, a really hard time in your relationships, Carlene's got wisdom for you. Carlene's got resources for you. If you want to have more financial options, if you want to find financial freedom, if you want to know what financial support is even available for you, Carlene is your person. Like, she is an expert in so many ways. And so Carlene, I'd love for you to speak about that a little bit, about this passion / skill of yours to connect. You're so good at it. And I'd love for you to just share a little bit about your power of connection and your desire to help other people.
Thank you for that, Nicole. Again, your questions are right on the mark. Because one of the things that so for me, where this has led me to sort of in my work life is understanding, one, because I need to earn money and I need to take care of myself and my family. I kind of, and those early life experiences, as I mentioned, see my father do well and not do well, and seeing other people, kind of do this with their finances, and how finances affect so many different areas of our lives has really impacted me, so that I actually chose to go into financial services. Early on in my career, I was in affordable housing, as I mentioned earlier. And when I realized that really people should be able to afford housing. So affordable housing is a misnomer. And so I learned about this part of community development called asset development. So I changed direction in my career. So I'm still in the world of community development, but in the place of having helping more people be able to afford regular housing and not need an affordable housing program. Talking about expansion and opening options. And ran a brick and mortar financial service center in an empowerment zone in Minneapolis for several years, helping more than 6,000 families become financially more prosperous than before our center existed. And in that work, I developed a 200-member volunteer corps of financial coaches, income tax preparers. What else did we do? We did so many other wonderful things. We formed advisory groups, because so often when resources like this are brought into our community, we forget to ask the community what they want. And will this work for you? And the community, then when the community doesn't go after what this institution is doing for them, the community says, well, who asked you? That doesn't work for us. We don't want that. So I formed an advisory group and was very diligent about asking the matrons in the community, the leaders of the community, the church leaders, to advise us. What do these programs need to look like? What will make them usable? And that was what led to that success. Then after that, I went on to lead mortgage foreclosure prevention for Habitat for Humanity in the Twin City area, Minneapolis, St. Paul. At the time, it was the third largest mortgage foreclosure prevention affiliate of all habitats in the country, really worldwide, and did some great work there. That was in around 2007, 2008, when we were in a very deep economic downturn, especially hard hit in the real estate world. And then after that, I went back into this consulting world, because I kept saying that there's just not existing what needs to exist to help people truly prosper financially, mentally, physically, energetically. And money is called currency for a reason. So when your mind, heart, and community are in a positive place, you are more likely to prosper financially. And so in the last few years, I've been focused more in the life and health insurance industry. When I learned that wealthy people buy insurance policies, I thought to myself, well, us not wealthy people for darn sure need to have insurance policies. Wealthy people can self-insure, but they choose to mitigate the risk of loss of life, of health, of ability by buying policies. And when I first got into the insurance world, I actually was not an insured agent, but I had the ability, I know people. The gut dar is strong, right? I know people's intentions. I feel people's intentions. So I was paid quite handsomely by the Tampa division of a large national private health insurance company, life and health insurance company, to recruit and to onboard agents and make sure that they understand their fiscal responsibility. I translate fiscal responsibility to the hood language. You don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't do nobody wrong. Face drooping on while I'm at it. Don't do nobody wrong, right? Fiscal responsibility. It's crazy that we need licensing laws for this, but you always put the client's best interest up front. And I would teach these agents, then when you do that, it becomes a win-win. You're gonna make money anyway. Now you're making money, making sure that this client is in the right product for them today. And that can change, right? One minute you're with the company and you got a company provided policy and you're all this. Next minute you change companies and they have a different kind of plan that isn't quite right for you. Next minute, maybe you can't work and you need a different kind of plan. There's all these different phases of life. So it's about building that relationship with clients and being that resource to them throughout their life rather than a get out, quick sale. This is not sex. This is life we're talking about. We're not talking about procreation, but we're talking about someone's life. So then after a while, I went on to become an agent. Again, not with the intention that I would sell policies myself, but as I am supervising agents, it gave me more authority as well as knowledge. And then part of my compensation actually came from a portion of their commissions as my time is being put into nurturing them and grooming them. And this is when I became this chief operating officer of a small brokerage after leaving the national company. But within all of those, at the national company, I tripled the Tampa division within 8 months with good quality agents who were growing. And because of that, we expanded from 1 location to 3 locations. And then I went to the smaller brokerage, and that brokerage was not interested in fast growth. They had different motivations than the national company, and that's fine. My role there was to make sure that the clients were taken care of, and that operations were running smoothly, and that the agents kept their continuing education up, and that we had organization-wide communication. So we became a stronger and more effective brokerage as a result of my work. And these days, I'm looking, as always, to make sure that we are lifting up the Americans that we support. Sorry, the Americans in this country who are my sweet spot. My passion is to support the low to moderate income American. And by the way, the IRS says low to moderate is $74,000 a year or less household income. Now in California or New York, that probably feels moderate, but in Chicago or Tampa or Minneapolis, that feels like a lot of money. But it's really not when you consider childcare, healthcare costs. And so in the comments, I shared some financial resources as well. Mental health and financial crisis are at epidemic proportions in this country. Actually, I just spoke with someone the other day. I do financial coaching, as a volunteer, and someone reached out to me. They're $35,000 in debt. That just paying the interest on that debt is costing them over $500 a month. Can you imagine how that's affecting their mental health? So if you're suffering, my similar spiel about mental health, I said it that way because you don't have to suffer in vain. Similar about debt, you don't have to suffer in vain. The pain is real. I don't doubt that. I've been there, I've done that. But I also know that credit in this country is like a big old fat game of Monopoly. And I used to be on staff at Lutheran Social Service of Minnesota, which LSS Financial Counseling is a national consumer credit counseling agency. They provide counseling all over the country. And at the time, the head of that department, Daryl Dahlheimer, I'll never forget Daryl saying, no matter where your credit is, it can get better and it can get worse. Just like a game of Monopoly. That game can get sour real quick, or when you form a strategy and you understand the game a little bit better, you can come away with all kinds of rent that you're making. By the way, in Monopoly, it's not how much cash you have. Sorry, the landscaper's going by. It's not much cash you have, it's how much property you own. Asset ownership. And in order to get to asset ownership, debt cannot be a thorn in your side. Some of the things listed are, some of the last items listed in that resource list are finance related. There are about 55 million Americans in this country who are considered banked or underbanked. And the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, defines underbanked as you have a federally insured bank account somewhere, like with a bank or credit union, but you're still using high cost alternative financial services like check cashing, buy here, pay here car lots, where they're legal, and in half the states of the union, they're illegal, payday loans, refund anticipation loans when you get your tax return back. Just trying to think of secured credit cards that are over 20%. That's considered an alternative financial service. So when you're using those services, you're spending, and you make, let's just say $70,000 a year, you don't feel that $70,000 a year, because after taxes and paying just to get your money and move it around, you're hurting. So actually in my last role with the United Way, I led an initiative called Bank On. Bank On is a nationwide initiative that sprouted up from grassroots efforts to help people become banked or better banked. So I included the link, and there are over 400 financial banks and credit unions in this country who offer an account that is Bank On certified. And basically that means there's no overdraft fees, there's no credit check, and it's a full-fledged bank account with the bank or credit union. So now you're getting financial advice from a bank or credit union instead of check casher, who's going to try to sell you a payday loan at, I'm telling the truth here, 100% accurate, 500% average interest rate. 85% default rate on refund anticipation loans. The average low to moderate income American who is or underbanked will spend about, actually whether you're banked or not, the average low to moderate income American will spend about $40,000 in their lifetime on high cost alternative financial services. For me, my passion in that, and why I cared about that, and why I built the initiative to triple its size in our Tampa Bay area, is prosperity, intergenerational killing statistics. So also LSS Financial Counseling, if you're in debt, if you're trying to figure out what to do about your debt, if you want to become a homeowner, if you want to save up for college, if you want to do anything around finances, there are 2 coaching and counseling programs that I mentioned. There are lots, and I would say the phrase caveat emptor applies here. That is Latin, and it's listed on a lot of government bills and documents, and it means buyer beware. In the hood, we say protect your money, watch your money, or somebody else is going to watch it for you. You don't want that to happen. So just like I encourage, and I have done myself, and I encourage mental health counseling, I also encourage seeking the advice of a trained professional, no cost financial counselor. And through both of the resources I listed, LSS Financial Counseling and the United Way Suncoast Financial Coaching, and they coach around the country. There are United Way affiliates around the world and around the country where you can get access to a coach. And then just for fun, I put in there 14 ways to get a break from debt. You know, before you even get a chance to call a counselor, just, you know, get on there and just start kind of thinking about, okay, well, what's something I can do right away now? Just kind of take back your personal power. So that's, as Forrest Gump says, that's all I have to say about that.
Can you post those same links inside the Zoom chat just for anyone who's on Zoom and who's not in the Facebook group? Because I want to make sure they're getting these resources as well. So yeah, just like I was saying,
it says my message is too long.
Okay, so yeah, if you split it up.
Pieces.
So as I was just saying before, Carlene knows her shit. Carlene is connected, and Carlene gives good connections. Like, I love how she just shared here's organizations to contact to get legit financial counseling, not shady counseling, right? And there's a lot of people, not even just organizations. As a life coach, there's a lot of shady people on the internet trying to give financial advice. So like listening to someone like Carlene, who's worked with a bunch of these organizations, or listening to someone who has not just the credentials, but has the reputation, has the history, has the ratings, like you want to make sure you're getting advice from someone that is legit. Even if it's non-conventional. So I know like there's traditional financial advice, and then I teach a little bit of an alternative, but I'm not teaching the kind where you go risk a 500% interest rate, right? It's like finding the people, the organizations that resonate with you, that are truly about your liberation and not creating kind of what Carlene said, like ongoing generational poverty, right? With these organizations or groups that are willing to like take everything from you because it fattens their wallets and it takes all of yours. So I love, love, love these resources you've shared. I love Carlene's passion about helping people find financial freedom, afford appropriate housing, and be supported by the right people. So you're not getting scammed or screwed over by the wrong people. So thank you, Carlene. This is just like this whole session. I cannot believe everything we just covered. Like
wait, I have to tell you one last thing. I'm sorry.
Please do.
If you have debt, don't pay anybody to consolidate your debt for you. It's all stuff you can do yourself with the support of a coach or a counselor. So I just wanted to make sure to share.
Yes. See, so I'm saying Carlene knows her shit. So if you're looking for support, if you're looking for guidance or advice, Carlene does consulting. Carlene is a very trustworthy person, obviously knows her stuff, has all the right links and places to send you and help you, like very, very generous and wise. Carlene, this session alone just gives a glimpse into how much you have to offer by being who you are and what you care so much about. We went from your part of your life story and the traumas you had to face and you overcame, to stepping into your power and passion in your relationships and in helping other people find their freedom. Like, you are just a well of wisdom and wealth and knowledge and insight. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here and sharing so generously. This is just true to who you are. With our last minute, is there any last thing you'd like to share with people? And then where can they find you, and what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Nicole. My heart is so warm right now. And everything that you said, I just want to drive home to everyone. None of this happens overnight. I'm 59 years old, and I'm grateful that I've got a clue, right? Because you can live a lot longer and still not get a clue. So be patient with yourself, set some intentions, and move easy and lovingly with yourself. Best place to find me? I'd like to say Facebook, but really it's more LinkedIn. Actually, I'm going to be posting some vlogs around finance, just on a personal note, Facebook, but around finance and all things to do with industry and just becoming better, stronger, more powerful financially, LinkedIn. And I'll post my LinkedIn link in the chat. Thank you so much for
Perfect.
having me here.
This was so good. Yeah, please drop your LinkedIn link down here in the chat. Thank you everyone for tuning in, whether you joined from the beginning or you joined in at the end. You're always right on time. The replay will be available immediately in our Facebook group. And of course, if you have any other questions for Carlene or for me, feel free to tag us in the Facebook group in the chat section here. Feel free to reach out to her on LinkedIn. There's so much here to unpack. So this conversation is welcome to continue after it is over. I love you all. You're amazing. We have one more session today at 4 p.m. about how movement is key to healing and growth with Jenny. So if you're able to come back at 4, please do. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. I'm so grateful you're here, and I will see you guys in the group and online. Thank you, Carlene. You're amazing.
You girl.
Bye,
Love you all. Bye.